There we go. I think that's a little bit more comfortable for me. The microphone was just kind of in a little bit of an awkward position. But hello, hello. I hope you're all well. Welcome in, Teal. Always here to welcome me in as well. I hope you've all been well. I'm a little bit tired. I won't lie. I was traveling for the past couple of days, so I decided to do a nice, easy kind of reading stream today. Something that wouldn't be too mentally tasking. I kind of just played a little bit of CK3 as well earlier today, just giving it a try for the first time. I picked it up on the autumn sale. Grabbed all the DLCs everyone suggested. Crusader Kings 3, if you don't know what that is. Cute little heart emote. Um, Thank you, Teal. So I've just been kind of messing around with it. Just seeing how it's different to CK3 or CK2, which is probably one of my favorite games of all time. And because I'm still kind of fairly familiar with those games, I didn't have to think too much. I was kind of just like click button, make time go, and react to stuff. So it's fine. Uh, Other than that, I've been pretty good. I won't lie. The thing I had to go up to, that I had to travel for, was not worth it. It was very boring. But at least we managed to finish up early on both days, so that was okay. At least it was a work thing, and it was not worth it. It could have been done at home. But at least I got to like see a couple of people and chat to some people. I was quite disappointed because there's this guy who does this really nice food, a little bit away from the building. Hello, Kwai. Welcome in, welcome in. Ruadh. um, but yeah, there's this guy a little bit away from my from the building that I had to go to, and he does amazing like stir fries and stuff. But he he wasn't doing them. He wasn't there that day. His thing was closed, and I was so disappointed because I was like, even if it's boring going all the way up there, even if it's boring going all the way up to where I have to go, at least I'll be able to get like this really nice food that I enjoy. And then he wasn't there, and I was so disappointed. But it's okay. I instead I got some. I had some. How you been? It's been a while. It has been. It has been. I've been pretty good. I've been trying to branch out a little bit from my reading content by playing a couple of games. But today we're doing some reading, something a little bit cozy and comfy. So I'll probably soften my voice a little bit in a moment or two. Uh, Other than that, I was saying that I am a little bit tired. That's kind of why I'm doing a reading stream today. I was traveling all around, but other than that, I've been pretty well. What about you, Kwai? How have you been? You've been good, I hope. Uh, I did go to another place and I did try it was just like a stir fry with like prawns and a bit of rice, and it was really good. So at least I found another place that was pretty tasty. And I got to make some money from it as well because it was really cheap where I happened to go, and we get expenses paid. So I made money off of it. I made money off of because like I didn't spend as much as I'm like automatically entitled to. So I made like €6. Yeah, bros. Not that much, but it does. I was there for like, excuse me, I was there for like a month, and over that month, I probably made like maybe €2 to €3 a day. Sometimes it was a little bit more if stuff was paid for us, and it does add up over like a month because that was like 30 or 40 euro that I managed to claim back that I didn't actually spend. Excuse me. Oh no, wait, it would have been about 50. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Um, to be fair though, I spent a lot of money because I was traveling up and down to work. Uh, I'm doing good, just the usual, busy at work. I understand that quite. Although, yeah, today was quiet enough. It was comfy enough. we had a little break to put up decorations around the place. So that was a nice little way to kind of end the day, I suppose. But I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad you're doing well. And welcome in. Laughs a lot. The emote is adorable, I have to say. You can thank our resident viewer, Haru Regan. Very, very good. And Teal, thank you so much for the hydrate. Actually, is my bottle of water? I think it's. I don't even know where I put it. But I do have a cup of tea. I'll take a drink. Starlight Zero X redeems name pronunciation. Well, welcome in Starlight. My name is Rua Uaquilta. I am an Irish warrior from the around 2nd to 3rd century. Half human, half Tuatha. I hope the name probably was a little bit surprising to hear it pronounced. Don't worry, it can be confusing. Welcome in, Clever, as well. Welcome in. I hope you're doing well too, Clever. My books started coming in today. Oh yeah, guys. Clever talked about how he purchased like 80 books. I guess he saw all those like deals that were happening and went a little crazy. Went a little crazy. But welcome in, Starlight. It's nice to see you again. It's nice to see you. Oh, look at that cozy emote. That's a super cute emote. Rua Ua Quilta. Wait, do you know when Ireland started using the Georgian calendar or the Gregorian calendar? I don't know when was the Gregorian calendar made in the first place. Would be Gregorian calendar. I'll try the who issued the papal bull 1582. Okay, so I mean by that point they were fairly well Christianized, so it would certainly be it probably would have been around that period, I imagine. Although perhaps I don't know. I wouldn't know like how long it took, for England and stuff to take that. So that might have slowed down things. And of course, the relationship there. I got a bicameral mind one you were reading. Oh, the I got the bicameral mind one you were reading. Do you mean the book that we're currently reading? Oh, welcome in, Demon. It's actually night here right now. The one before. Oh, sorry. Um, the one I read beforehand was the uh, Middle Ages, wasn't it? That was the one I read beforehand. And then I also read Troy. But welcome in, Demon. Yes, it's currently nighttime here. I actually wanted to stream a little bit earlier, but I got caught up talking to some of my VTuber buddies. Oh, just D. Oh yeah, because I actually saw that. I remember looking at that and being like, oh D, and then I realized Demon, and then I looked at the name and I realized, oh, their name is D. That's cute. But yeah, sorry. I'll stick to D. Breakdown of the bicameral mind. I got one on the strategy of genes. Ooh, very very cool. But welcome in, everyone. I'm glad to see you. But yeah, I imagine last lot. It probably would have been around the time that it was, at that time Ireland, the Celtic Church had kind of been pretty much um, pushed back. The Hittites, the Homer's epics. Well, yeah, that's very similar to what we were reading with the Troy book. And that had a lot of stuff to talk about. But I think I might begin because I'm probably going to be ending in probably about 3/4 of an hour to an hour. And I'd like to get a nice bit into this chapter because I think it's going to be quite an interesting one. So where we left off in our book, The Philosophy of Mind: A Beginner's Guide, talking about written by Edward Fesser, we had just finished off the chapter on materialism. Now, admittedly, I haven't looked at this book in about a week since we last read it, so I'm a little bit can't remember exactly how to summarize. But essentially, we were looking at kind of the materialist frameworks that had been developed in response to Descartes' conception, and we looked at things like behavioralism, which ran into some issues with a seemingly infinite regress and trying to explain, well, if to have a mind is to simply have certain actions and to have certain beliefs, well, those beliefs have to be informed by other beliefs, which have to be informed further down, and have to be, constantly substantiated. So there has to be either some ending point, which doesn't seem to be possible under behavioralism, or you get into an infinite regress. And then there was other considerations. I think the main one we read about last stream was functionalism, which oh god, here's where the thing at the back of the book, this little thing. Here we are. Functionalism holds that mental states and processes can be analyzed in terms of the causal relations they bear to those environmental influences on the body that typically generate them, to the behavioral tendencies they in turn tend to generate, and to the other mental states they are typically associated with. So that probably wasn't very clear, but it seems to be probably the strongest of the materialist claims, and has shifted the burden of proof supposedly onto the realists of mind, those who believe that the mind is immaterial. I know why it was. It did make a lot of sense. It had never occurred to me that when you say you're from the second, third century, it might not just not have been what you're used to when you were young. Ah, yes, yes, yes. I was a little bit unsure what you meant, but I mean, at this point, it's been a very, very long time. So, I've gotten used to the usage of the Gregorian calendar, and of course uh, introduction of Catholicism into Ireland is an important factor. So, just ignoring that would be silly. Welcome in, Sonny. Welcome in. I hope you sleep nice and soundly. Get nice and cozy. Edward Fesser, however, argued that the burden of proof, functionalists essentially argued that because a consciousness, a mind, could conceivably be constructed in either a human brain or a very advanced robot or some other thing separated from the brain, would suggest that just because the mind and brain are separable does not entail that the mind must be immaterial. Rather, the mind is simply something that comes about through a certain series of causal events or causal chains within a system, very much like a computer, essentially. You will. Good, good, good. Edward Fesser argues, however, that this is essential. This is kind of not necessarily the case, and I remember, if I remember correctly, he argued essentially that just because we could conceive of these things, there are many other arguments. It's sort of the cultural milieu to believe that materialism is correct because supposedly it is the dominant strain of thought. But he argues that many of the primary arguments between materialists and naturalists and I guess what we would call them realists would be, they aren't settled. Things like mathematical Platonism, the idea that numbers are real versus that they are simply easy and sets that we create. The discussion on God, which is a very interesting one, but I think for a single stream or even for 5 minutes that I would talk about it is something not to get too deep into. It's certainly an inflammatory comment or topic. And I can't remember what the last topic was, unfortunately. I think it might have been universals, something like that. No, that was related to the... Oh, I think it was the mind one. I think it was literally the discussion on the mind that we've been talking. I think that was his point. I'll do up like I'll read a little bit more on the background and give a proper explanation next stream. But getting into chapter 4, and to actually begin our reading 20 minutes into the stream. Chapter 4 deals with qualia, the sensation of experience. If Descartes is right, pinching yourself will not suffice to prove that you are awake. It may suffice, however, to prove something more philosophically momentous, that materialism is false. That's quite a strong claim. That, at any rate, is the claim of a number of recent anti-materialist arguments in the philosophy of mind. The feel of the pinch, the subjective inner element that makes it true that there is something it is like to be pinched, appears to be distinct from and additional to objective outer phenomena, such as the reddening of the pinched skin, the stimulation of nerve endings, or indeed anything material or physical. It seems, in short, to be immaterial and or non-physical, and if it is, its very existence refutes the materialist's claim that everything real is really material. Qualia, the feel of a pinch or an itch or a pain, the taste of apple or whiskey, the redness of a fire engine or an afterimage, and so on for all sensory modalities, constitute, in the minds of many philosophers, the most serious challenge to materialism. The little said about them so far in this book has perhaps given an intuitive sense of why this is, and then again perhaps not. For it is easy to understand why someone might not be clear on exactly what the problem is. After all, isn't the pain of your toothache, in an obvious sense, in your tooth? And if it is, doesn't that show it is physical? Your tooth is physical, after all, so wouldn't anything in it, blood vessels or pain, have to be physical too. But the pain in your tooth is quite the same sense. Sorry, isn't in your tooth in quite the same sense in which blood vessels are. You can't observe or pinpoint the pain the way you can the blood vessels, and that should be a hint that there might indeed be something philosophically mysterious going on here. In any case, a number of recent arguments have attempted to make plain precisely what qualia are and how they are supposed to be impossible to account for in purely material terms. So again, we're going to be getting into realists of the mind claims, arguing that qualia is something that must be, is not reducible to material, the subjective experience that we constantly have, the sound of the fire crackling or of my voice, or maybe for Sunny of the blanket and the pillow that she's cuddled up with, softly falling asleep, that these things, subjective feelings, are not found in physical reality, but rather rely on the immaterial mind. The inverted spectrum. The idea of the inverted spectrum has a long history in philosophy, going back at least to Locke, but it has served recent philosophers well as a means of motivating the problem of qualia. It goes like this. It seems possible that another person, even one who is physically, behaviorally, and functionally identical to you, could have color experiences which are inverted relative to your own. That is, what you see when you look at what you both call red, for instance, is what the other person sees when he or she looks at what you both call green, and vice versa. And this difference would, nevertheless, not register in what either of you said about red and green objects, or in how you interacted with them. If you were somehow able to look inside the other person's mind when he or she was looking at what you both call red, you would say, wait a second, that's what I would call green. And if he or she could look inside your mind when you're looking at what you both call green, the other person would say, wait a second, that's what I would call red. Since neither of you can do this, however, the difference in the subjective character of your experiences goes unnoticed. The scenario is similar to the difference in experience between... where were we? The scenario is similar to the difference in experiences between those who are colorblind and those who with normal vision. Colorblind people can make many of the same discriminations between objects that everyone else can, so their color blindness can, in principle, go undetected for quite some time. From the outside, it might appear that the experiences of colorblind people and those of normally sighted people are identical, but they are not. The inverted spectrum scenario is just an extension of this, a case where the difference between your experiences and those of the other person is absolutely undetectable from the outside. It would seem to follow from the possibility of such inverted color experiences that facts about color qualia, about what it is like to experience red and green, are facts over and above the facts about one's physical makeup and functional organization. For those latter, purely physical facts would, in this case, not be enough by themselves to determine the nature of the color experiences one is having. But then materialism, which holds that the physical facts involved in color experiences are all the facts there are, would seem to be false. Welcome in next, Teacoff. Yes, we're reading a little bit of Phil Sophie. Welcome in, welcome in. Take a seat by the fire. You gotta go. Okay, qua. That's okay. No worries. Have a good day at work, and I hope your commute is nice and easy. Have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you. Although I'll be going to sleep in a little while, so maybe you were saying that about yourself, that you have a wonderful day ahead. But I do hope you have a great day too. Thank you. Thank you for stopping by too, Kwai. It's always lovely to see you. I will. I'll get nice and cozy. It's getting a little bit cold, and I had this really fluffy blanket. That's so nice to cuddle, essentially. Like, just wrap it over. It's like I even, it's just the best. It's so soft. Cuddle weather. It really is. It really, really is. That's, winter is probably my favorite month. I love all the colors and the colors of autumn, and then all the festivities and the lights, and it's just fun. I just wish it snowed more, a little bit, not too heavy. But have a wonderful day, Kwai. Thank you for stopping by. Similar scenarios can be described in which what is inverted are not colors, but some other kind of qualia. We can imagine, for example, that what you taste when eating what you and other people would both call sweet is what they taste when eating what you would both call savory. That what you feel when experiencing what you both call pain is what they feel when experiencing what you would both call pleasure, and so on. We just call those people masochists. The The color inversion is probably the easiest to imagine because of its similarity to the real world phenomenon of color blindness. But it also suggests how the materialist might be able to get around the problem. The inverted spectrum scenario will only be a difficulty for materialism if indeed there is absolutely no way in principle for the inversion to be detectable from the outside. No way for it to manifest itself in differences in behavior or in differences in the functional organization of you or the other person. But there seems to be good reason to doubt that this would be impossible in principle, as philosophers of mind like C.L. Hardin and Austin Clarke have emphasized. The scientific study of color and color vision has revealed there to be a highly complex relations between the various colors, such that any particular color can be given a detailed description in terms of its relations to the other. These form, when made thoroughly explicit, an abstract structure sometimes referred to as color space, a system of relations within which each color can be given a precise location. I did not know that there was a philosophy of color, but it makes sense. I mean, there's philosophies of almost everything. But it sounds like like it would be, maybe it's a subsection of philosophy of art, perhaps. It might just be like its own area, its own section. This structure appears to be asymmetrical, however. Features characteristic of one part of the color space, the warmth of red, say, are absent in other parts, such as the area where blue lies, which is characteristically cool. The number of shades that can be discriminated in the case of one color might not match the number discriminable in the case of another. We believe, for instance, we can discriminate more shades of red than of yellow, and so forth. But these asymmetries would surely manifest themselves in the functional organization and behavior of color perceivers whose color qualia had been inverted. If you saw what I would call blue whenever you looked at what we both call red objects, you presumably would not, as I would, react to those objects in a way that corresponds to the warmth that their color seems to me to exhibit. If you saw what I would call yellow when you looked at what we both call red objects, you surely would not be able to distinguish the same number of shades of their color as I would be able to, and so forth. It seems likely, then, that a qualia inversion would, in principle, be detectable from the outside, from differences in the physical facts. Materialism, which holds that the physical facts are all the facts there are, would thus not be refuted by the inverted spectrum. By the inverted spectrum idea, after all. I have to head to bed, gotta work in the morning, then an interview. Sounds very interesting though. No worries, laughs a lot. Enjoy, get a good sleep. I know you're often quite busy with school work, I imagine. And good luck in your interview. You will do fantastic, no doubt. No doubt. No worries. You can always, if you do find this stuff interesting, and I hope everyone does, you can often check out the VODs on the Twitch channel. It is sometimes replied to, and get a good sleep actually. It is sometimes replied to this that even if our color experiences could not be inverted undetectably, it is nevertheless possible that there could be other creatures who perceived two different colors whose relations were symmetrical, so that an inversion of their experiences would be undetectable from the outside. If so, then the facts about their color experiences would be facts over and above the facts about their physical constitutions and functional organization, and the anti-materialist implication of the inverted spectrum idea would still stand. But it is not at all clear that this is possible. What exactly would these hypothetical colors be like? Certainly not like our own colors, whose structure is asymmetrical. What we need to conceive of then, in order to be sure that the suggestion really is possible, are colors totally unlike ours, whose structure is symmetrical and yet could be inverted without detection. But it is hard to see how anyone could, with any confidence, claim that this really is conceivable. In particular, it is hard to see how we can be confident that two colors whose relations were entirely symmetrical would count as different colors in the first place. The inverted spectrum scenario thus seems difficult to salvage as a decisive argument against materialism. Welcome in, witty weeb. Welcome in. Thank you very much for the first time chat. I hope everyone is doing well. I think most people are doing well. Come, sit down by the fire and relax. I hope you enjoy reading. But very nice to see you. And thank you for joining from Sasa's Discord. Sasa BU. He's a very nice streamer. Anyone who wants some good ASMR content should definitely check out Sasa BU. Oh, I love the cute emotes. We're currently reading about the philosophy of mind. I don't know if you have any particular interest in that, but I hope you either enjoy me in the background as you do some work or go to sleep. Or, if you do have an interest, that it's entertaining, or at least very informative. This begins the next part of this chapter, the Chinese nation argument. Even the inverted spectrum scenario doesn't claim to show that the physical features of the nervous system, behavior, are completely divorced from qualia. What is at issue is whether the purely physical properties of your nervous system are sufficient to determine the precise character of your qualia. That you have qualia of some sort or other is not in question. But there is another famous thought experiment that attempts to show that at least the functionalist version of materialism, the version which, as we have seen, is currently the most popular, fails to explain not only the specific character of qualia, but but even why we have any qualia at all. This is the Chinese nation argument, named after the thought experiment devised by Ned Block. For some reason, there's a lot of Chinese X arguments when it comes to philosophy of mind. I don't know why. There's the Chinese room argument, the Chinese nation argument. I think later on there's another point, unless this is the one I'm thinking about, but like it's another Chinese X argument. I wonder what that is. I'm gonna look that up later and be like, why Chinese? I can understand. I think like with the Chinese one, it's just like that's a language that someone who speaks English does not know, or is very 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 unlikely to know. Like it's meant to be as foreign to the person as possible within the Chinese room experiment. But it's just funny that it's the same thing. Even the inverted functionalism, as we've seen, takes mental states to be properly definable in terms of their causal relations, not in terms of the particular kind of stuff in which those causal relations happen to be instantiated. A belief is a belief, whether it is realized in the firing of neurons or in the passing of electrical current through computer circuitry. Anything that plays a requisite functional role will do the job. If computer chips can perform the same function as neurons, which is basically nothing more than the receiving and transmitting of simple signals, then they can, when organized into a system as complex as a system constituted by our neurons, generate a mental life just as rich as ours. But what is true of computer chips should, if functionalism is correct, be true of any number of other possible elements. We can imagine, for instance, that an enormous number of people, the population of China, let's suppose, could be mobilized to interact with one another in a way that exactly parallels the interaction of neurons in the brain. At the most basic level, those neurons merely send signals to fire or refrain from firing to other neurons. So we can imagine that each member of the population is given instructions to do something similar, perhaps by sending signals to each other via walkie-talkie or cell phone, to the effect that the people receiving them should either go on to send a further signal down the line, or to refrain from sending one. I hope people are following this one, because it is an interesting thought experiment. Of course, we would all understand that neurons fire much faster than humans can react, but we can imagine that these humans have increased capabilities in regards to reactions. Suppose also that the vast network of people is connected via a radio transmitter to a complex robotic body sophisticated enough in its construction to receive, through its artificial sensory organs, just the sort of information our senses receive, and to exhibit just the sort of behaviors we exhibit. The network of walkie-talkie or cell phone wielding signalers serve, collectively, as the brain of this robotic body. When the robot is kicked in the shins, the artificial nerve endings in the legs send the signals up to the radio transmitter in the robot's head, which in turn sends signals to a few thousand members of the walkie-talkie network, who in turn send signals to a few 100,000 others, who in turn send signals to others, and so on, until the end of the line. The last members of the network send signals back to the robot, as a result of which the robot yells, "Ouch!" and rubs its shin. The signals sent between the members of the network parallel exactly the signals sent between neurons when a human being is kicked in the shins, and produce the same behavioral response. And we can imagine that the network of Chinese signalers is so organized excuse me. And we can imagine that the network of Chinese signalers is so organized that their interactions parallel those of neurons in every other respect as well, so that, in general, the robot body behaves exactly as we do in exactly the same sorts of circumstances, conversing with others, laughing at jokes, crying at injuries. As in the case of the original robot example we used to motivate functionalism, which was, for those of you who weren't there, who may not remember, the argument was essentially, if you have a brain, and neurons and nerve endings and all this, and you replace one clump with chips, computer chips, and they do the job of those nerve endings, but you still supposedly retain your mind, well, could you replace two clumps, three, 300, 400, a billion, and so on and so forth until you're essentially just a robot? But they all perform the exact function. They perform exactly as they do with everything else. At which point would you supposedly lose your mind? Why is there any qualitative difference between neurons and computer chips if they're doing the same thing? That's essentially the argument from functionalism in regards to the original robot. That argues that, well, the mind in this case, the brain is just, or the mind is just instantiated in the functions of the neurons in the brain, and that other things, other material things, could just as well uh, perform those functions. At least to conceive of it, they can. As in the case of the original robot experience example we use to motivate functionalism, we have in this robot controlled by the population of China, quote, China head, as some philosophers have affectionately dubbed it, a system which is functionally identical to us. It produces the same sorts of behaviors in response to the same sorts of stimulation, and via exactly parallel intermediate processing, but instantiated in walkie-talkie using people rather than in neurons. If functionalism... Oh, actually, you know what I'm going to do very quickly? I'm just going to make sure that my ads are off, because if they weren't, they might go off and wake someone up. And that's the last thing to happen. But instantiated in walkie-talkie using people rather than in neurons. If the functionalist is right, this system, however eccentric, should have mental states just like our own, and in particular, qualia just like our own. But would it? It is, for instance, hard to believe that when you kick China head in the shins, the entire population of China, collectively, as a vast supermind, feels pain. But if it doesn't, then functionalism is false. For if a system could be functionally identical to us and yet lack qualia, then there is more to having a mind, and in particular more to having qualia, than having a certain sort of functional organization. This is the conclusion Bloch and others take to be the intuitive one, but the Chinese nation argument, like the inverted spectrum argument, seems less than conclusive as a qualia-based argument against materialism. For it seems that the gradual transformation scenario which, as we saw in the previous chapter, the functionalist can use to defend a claim that a data-type robot would be conscious, can be adapted for use against the China head example. Consider a case we can call the spaghetti head scenario. Even if you doubt that China head... I love these names. It's very cute. Even if you doubt that China head would be conscious, you surely have no doubt that you are. Now imagine that you were kidnapped. Oh yes, I remember. This section is a little bit, I won't say gory, but kinda is. Yeah, like the picture of it is a little bit gory, so I apologize if those are not enjoyed. Okay, so I just had to close my window. I heard people. Even if you doubt that China... Oh, sorry. Now imagine that you are kidnapped by mad, philosophically inclined neuroscientists who strap you to a table in their laboratory and remove the top of your skull, exposing your brain. Suppose they figured out how to disentangle the billions of tiny nerve fibers, constituting it in a way that their functioning is not affected. Slowly and carefully they hang them from hooks above the table, labeling each one with a number. Then they treat them with a special chemical that allows the fibers to be stretched almost indefinitely, without breaking or losing their conductivity. Eventually the room becomes filled with billions of tiny strands hanging from the ceiling. If the man were to man, Hypothetically speaking, if the man were to man, then man in which the man and woman would man, and yet man in turn led to man, to man and man. So in conclusion, when did the man and would man, or and man? I think you just typed man a load of times and haven't actually formulated a sentence of any kind. Unless this is one of those things like, oh, my phone went off. I'm a professional streamer, guys, I promise. Uh, Unless it's one of those things that's like, buffalo, 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 buffalo. Was that 8 or 7? Buffalo, just in case. Which is apparently, supposedly, a grammatically correct sentence for some dumb reason, because English is a little silly. If the man were to man and then man, in which the man and woman would man, and yet man in turn led to the man, to man and man. So in conclusion, when did the man and with man, or and man? I think I did that pretty well. I tripped up a little bit, but decently enough. Maybe it makes you say something bad in a different language, and now I'm gonna be cancelled on like Cantonese or like Tibetan Twitter. Well, welcome in, Crayfish. Welcome in. I hope you're doing well. I'm decent enough at some tongue twisters, like how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck? Damn it! I'm usually so good at that. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? A woodchuck would chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could chuck wood. If a woodchuck could chuck wood. Ah, no, I messed that. I messed the second part up. Oopsie. I know there's other ones, but she sells seashells down by the seashore. She sells seashells down by the seashore. What's another one? A hydrate. Oh, thank you, Woody Weep. Hang on, I have to go find my bottle of water. Hang on. I think I may have left my bottle of water somewhere. Probably in my place of work. Oopsie. But I have another one, so I'll just go fill that up real quick, and then I will. I don't think there's anything in it. No, there isn't. And I wouldn't drink that water. That water's probably been sitting there for about 3 weeks. It's like a tiny bit of water, but like I'd probably get like at least 6 diseases, and I would rather not. Ooh, nice. Like ASMR. Hang on, 2 seconds. I am back. I have my water bottle filled. And thank you very much, Witty. It's completely alright. Just make sure to hydrate well and take good care of yourself. I do. I drink a lot of water, actually. Probably too much. No. But like I'm often... I have like a routine, like at least once before lunch, or maybe twice, I will drink the majority of my bottle of water. And then I'll go to the bathroom, and then I'll come back and fill up my bottle of water, and then it's like I get to waste time going and filling up my water, and I waste time at work. And then I get money for being healthy. But I will have a sip. Is it not picking up my swallow? I remember when I did it first. It might be because the filter is a little... Is the compression? No, not the compression. The noise. I think that may have picked it up a little bit. But I remember someone saying that I had a Looney Tunes or like a cartoon sounding gulp one time. But that I think that was when I had my suppression turned off quite a lot, so it was easier to hear that. That was Diamandus, a very, very sweet person, a very sweet guy. But yes, back to the, because we're almost done this little section. So, suppose they figured out how to disentangle the billions of tiny nerve fibers constituting it in a way that their functioning is not affected. Slowly and carefully, they hang them from hooks above the table, labeling each one with a number, and then they treat them with a special chemical that allows the fibers to be stretched almost indefinitely without breaking or losing their conductivity. Eventually, the room becomes filled with billions of tiny strands hanging from the ceiling. All this time, though, you continue to be capable of having thoughts and experiences as you were before, and notice no difference in your mental life. Of course, all of this is science fiction of the sort not likely ever to be realizable, but it seems perfectly conceivable, and thus metaphysically possible. So again here, where, for those of you who might not know, Edward Fesser sort of contrasted the concept of conceivable, which is metaphysically possible, i.e., or what something is conceivable, what they mean philosophically is that it could have been a different way in another world, while there are things that are metaphysically impossible to change or to be different. A good example of this is that things could have been different, physical laws could have been different, art could have had a different type of gravity or whatever, or we could have had stronger legs that allowed humans to jump 25 feet in the air, or 25 meters, whichever one. It's not the case, but it is certain. It is certainly conceivable in another world. It could have been. However, we couldn't have had, you couldn't have had another world where a triangle has four sides. That is in direct contradiction of what a triangle is. There's no change, there's no possible world, no difference in the physical world or the laws of things that can make it such that a triangle could have four sides. So that's just a simple example of what he means there by conceivability and metaphysically possible. So if something is conceivable in the sense that it is not just physically possible, had things been different, but doesn't inherently contain a contradiction, then, it is metaphysically possible and conceivable. Now, suppose that as the gradual transformation described in Chapter 3, each of your stretched out neurons is gradually replaced, only this time they are not replaced with computer chips, but with people. Specifically, when a neuron is removed, the neuroscientists attach a radio unit to each neuron with which it had been connected, and gives another radio unit to the person replacing it. Instead of sending an electrochemical signal, the neurons which previously triggered the replaced neuron now send a radio signal, which is picked up on the human replacement's radio, and that person in turn sends further radio signals, in lieu of electrochemical ones, to other neurons, just as the other original neurons used to do. Suppose that at first only 100 or so neurons are replaced in this way. As in our original replacement scenario last chapter, it seems highly implausible that this would affect mental functioning in any way. The people with the radio units are doing exactly what the original neurons did, so your mental life, including your qualia, should be just as they were. The reader has no doubt guessed where all this is going. We can imagine that all your neurons are eventually replaced in this way, perhaps by the population of China. Spaghetti Head is transformed into China Head. Yet at no point in this gradual transformation is it plausible that your qualia disappear, whereas in the computer chip replacement scenario described in Chapter 3, the functioning of your nervous system remains exactly the same. whether composed of neurons or people with radios. Why then should it cease generating the mental states it did before? At the very least, it seems possible, given the gradualness of the change, that your qualia would remain the same. But then Bloch's original Chinese nation example seems much less compelling. If you have if you, having been gradually transformed into China Head, would remain conscious, why couldn't the original China Head, who is, after all, functionally identical to you, also be conscious? It seems at least arguable that it would be, in which case Bloch's argument also fails decisively to refute functionalism. So that's the end of that section. Let me check how long the next section is, because I might. Okay, it's only a few pages. I think then I could maybe. Yeah, we still have a little bit to go. And here we're getting into. I think we're going to get into philosophical zombies, which are a very interesting concept. The zombie argument. For all that has been said so far, it might still seem that there is something fishy about the suggestion that China Head would be truly conscious. In any event, many critics of materialism hold that the basic thrust of the Chinese nation argument, that it is metaphysically possible for a creature functionally identical to us, nevertheless to lack qualia, can be defended without having to appeal to systems as eccentric as the one Bloch envisages. This brings us to the zombie argument. Zombies, Teal, but not the type that slowly walk to you, and grrrr. I put up my arms because I'm a role player. I put up my arms like how they do in the movies, and I bumped my mic. That would be fun to be an extra in a zombie movie. It seems perfectly conceivable, and thus metaphysically possible, for there to be a creature which is, unlike China Head, physically identical to you, down to the last molecule, one which looks and acts exactly the same, which is absolutely indistinguishable in its material and functional characteristics, even after the most detailed examination, and yet is totally devoid of conscious experience. When you step and attack, there is damage to the skin of your foot, stimulation of nerve endings, signals sent up the leg to the spinal cord, a consequent reflexive pulling away of your foot, and further signals sent to the brain and complex neural processing that climaxing in you clenching your teeth and yelling ouch. Also associated with all this physical activity, there is a subjective throbbing feeling in the sort we normally associate with pain. When the creature steps on attack, there is also damage to its foot, stimulation of its nerve endings, signals sent up its leg to the spinal cord, and so on, climaxing in its clenching its teeth and yelling ouch. But there is in the case no subjective feeling of pain, or any other conscious experience associated with these physical processes at all. Anyone observing the creature from the outside would be unable to tell it apart from you, for your physical characteristics and behavior are identical. Indeed, just like you, the creature would, if asked whether it was conscious or whether it was really in pain, respond with apparent indignation, "Of course I am." Still, there is a dramatic difference on the inside. In your case, there is a rich and vivid stream of sensations and experiences. In its case, all is dark. Such a creature is what philosophers of mind have come to call a zombie, so a philosophical zombie. A creature exactly like us in all its behaviors, physical and functional properties, but totally lacking qualia. And if anything, that sounds more terrifying than a zombie, than just a zombie. If zombies are metaphysically possible, then materialism would seem to be false, for it holds that behaviors, physical and functional properties, are all the properties there are, and that they are entirely sufficient for the having of any mental state. But the possibility of zombies entails the facts about qualia are additional to, over and above, the having of behavioral, physical, and functional properties. If a creature could have all those properties and yet lack qualia, then to have mental states involving qualia is something more than just having those properties. The zombie argument is the flip side of the conceivability argument for dualism discussed in Chapter 2. There, the claim was that it is conceivable, and thus metaphysically possible, for the mind to exist apart from the body, brain, or any other physical substrate at all. Here, the claim is that it is conceivable, and thus metaphysically possible, for a fully functioning body and brain to exist without any mind present at all, or at least without certain aspects of the mind, qualia, being present. The upshot is the same in both cases. The mind is not merely the body or brain, or anything physical for that matter, but is something additional to them. The zombie argument also sometimes goes by the name of the conceivability argument, though unlike the argument of Chapter 2, it attempts to undermine materialism without necessarily committing itself to full-blooded Cartesian substance dualism. One could accept the zombie argument without holding that the mind can exist entirely apart from the body and brain. The claim would just be that even if conscious experience are causally dependent on the brain for their existence, they are nevertheless not reducible to, or metaphysically supervenient upon, purely physical or functional properties of the brain. So some of the objections the materialist might make against Descartes' brand of dualism, to the effect that the mind seems too dependent on specific features of the brain to coexist independently of it, or to exist completely independently of it, are without force against this argument. The argument is also sometimes called the modal argument against materialism, because like the argument of Chapter 2, it appeals to such modal notions as metaphysically possible. Indeed, an early version of this argument was presented by Kripke, whose work on possibility and necessity has been enormously influential in contemporary philosophy of the mind, as our earlier discussion of the conceivability argument indicated, and a defense of that argument made in Chapter 2 by appealing to some of Kripke's ideas would also apply more or less without alternation or alteration to defending the zombie argument against any parallel objections one might think to raise, such parallel objections being indeed the standard objections to the zombie argument. I will say, I do have a YouTube channel that pretty much hosts all my VODs, or at least it should do. I might have to update it. But all you simply do, I don't post the VODs. I actually think I will. I think I'll just turn that into a VOD channel, and then I'll make an actual YouTube channel for any like videos I want to do, or clips I might have, because I know hours long streams with no viewers would absolutely tank any discoverability if I ever decided to do YouTube stuff. But they are there if you want to listen to me read or something. If you're like, oh, what was Chapter 2 about, and you wanted to have a listen, I should have them all named correctly and numbered, so that's there if you ever want it. I'll make sure that's linked to my Twitter or my Twitch later after I finish stream. I can finally listen to Chapter 1. Oh no, D, I forgot you. Yeah, because you didn't come in here. It's probably gone by now. Okay, I'll make sure that it's uploaded. I have them all I have all of the streams done by like when I stream them, so like it should be in the playlist. But I might start separating them out into their own separate playlists, like move Troy and the Terrible Middle Ages and the Philosophy of Mind into their own like separate things, so that it's more easy for people. And I think that would be a good thing to do too. The zombie argument thus seems to exacerbate the problem for materialism posed by the original Google Drive "Please leave me alone, stop trying to get me to like set you up." He actually wrote that. It's very weird. I think he got angry at his book, his computer. No, that's so silly. But no, that was on my end. Thanks. More ASMR from me. Oh, yeah. I love ASMR. I haven't listened to myself for ASMR, but maybe I should try it. Excuse me. The zombie argument thus seems to exacerbate the problem from materialism posed by the original conceivability argument. It is at least as strong as the latter, and may be stronger, since it shows the critique of materialism by no means stands or falls with the acceptability of substance dualism. Yeah, I think I might end the reading here. Let me see. Hang on, 2 seconds. Hmm, hmm. I think I will, because there's still a good bit to go in this chapter. But I need to get to bed because I still do need to be up. What time do I need to be up again? I'm not in the okay, so I can maybe wait. Hang on. How much pages? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, yeah, yeah. Should get to bed because that would take another like 20 minutes probably. Yeah, I'll get some eep. I'm eepy. Eepy if eepy. Wait, what's the the missile is eepy. Rua is very tired. He is eepy. Rua has had a long day of splashing bandits and wants to take just a small eepy. He is eepy and needy, so sleepy. Ruba sleepy and need bed by time. Rua is currently experiencing critical levels of being a sleazy little guy and needs to go to bed. He is retired and needs to sleep. And just a little sleeging time as a treat. Meebus needs to sleep for tweered boil. Just little guy. La la da da da. Needs his Betty sleep. Oh, reading that is always so silly. Ah. I remember the first time I heard it, I thought it was just dumb, but like, one person kept using it, and now I use EP all the time. But thank you guys for joining me. Let's see if anyone is around to raid. Perhaps. I hope you all enjoyed the little bit of reading. Is anyone doing ASMR? Let me just. Olga could be someone to raid into because Olga is very cozy. Olga is a very cozy person. Thank you for this. Oh, thank you guys for joining. Thank you, Dee and Crystal and Whitty, and everyone else. Cray for coming in and giving me a weird tongue twister, and Sir laughs a lot, and a load of other people. I think. Ooh, what's Cozy doing? Ooh. Oh no, that's a little too loud, I think. I want soft. Ooh, what's Simi doing? She's doing like humming. Ooh, that's nice. That's nice, I think. Okay. We're going to raid into Simi. She's doing some humming and ear cleaning, it sounds like. I hope you guys like that. Oh wow, I'm getting sleepy just listening to it. Okay, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so we're going to start the raid. I'd like to thank you all again for joining me. I hope you all enjoyed the book reading. I'll see you guys soon, no doubt. I'm gonna try and stream a lot, not a lot more, but just be more consistent with stuff. Go raibh míle macht. slonga foil.